photos a week that they're going to be editing. And so it'll be, it's not a full-time job, but it's a nice, meaningful job to be, a part-time photo editor where I just upload a photo with instructions, they do it, and they get paid for that. So, so couple few $100 a month, maybe, could be nice income.
Let me flip that a little bit. I need designers and programmers all the time. Again, I am using your competition, I'll admit it. I have an account at oDesk. I just haven't found myself yet comfortable enough to really start hitting it. How would somebody who needs a programmer or a web designer, and a really good case example is that I had 3 guys fail on a WordPress theme in a row, 1, 2, 3. I mean, all 3 of them failed.
At oDesk?
No.
Oh.
Elance.
Oh, see, that's your problem. Yeah.
Nice setup. Nice setup.
But no, really. I mean,
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the try before you buy, but let me ask you a question. How would any of you solve it locally? So think about this, the context of, let's go back to the e-commerce metaphor. What are the reasons why we were afraid of e-commerce in the early days? I'm not going to be able to find the good. Is it as advertised? Am I going to get delivery of it? What happens if it gets broken? What's the guarantee? Am I going to be able to ship it back? I'm going to store my credit card online here, or are my digits going to get stolen? Is somebody rip me off? Like, do I have any recourse? The item is expensive to ship. If they ship it to me and I have to ship it back, is that on my dime or their dime? Not so much, doesn't matter so much for a book, but when you start buying big screen TVs or cars, it matters. And look at what we're buying online now. So think about eWork the same way. It starts with, design, some small web development, some iOS, and ultimately it moves into longer term assignments. But how would you solve that problem locally? So what questions would you ask if you had to find the person here in
Well,
Santa Clarita?
I was looking for people here and my website's fairly involved and couldn't really find anybody, so I actually went to oDesk.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did is I took the smallest job that I could find and I put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And people quoted on it, and I went through and I picked one. And, he did okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did that with a couple different people until I found the right developer.
Right.
And he was able to go through, and now he's done everything to the point where we're just fixing the bugs.
Right.
And so that's, for any of you, interested in using oDesk, that's how I finally solved my problem.
So it's a little bit of trial and error up front.
It was, but I found the right person. And I think that's just like hiring anybody in person.
Yeah, so let's go to the local example. So how do you do it locally? Like, what would you do if you were to sit down and find that WordPress guy here?
Oh, if you're going to find them, well, I have a WordPress guy, but I found him, believe it or not, of all places, on Craigslist.
Craigslist. So you posted a job on Craigslist.
My lifesaver.
Yeah.
But he's really expensive.
But and how did you interview him though? Like, so you posted on Craigslist, he shows up, and you sit across the table from him, and what gave you the confidence that he was going to be so great?
Well, actually, believe it or not, it took me a year to meet him finally, but I gave him a project, I told him what I needed to do. He did it, it was done, I PayPal'd him.
Yeah, so you paid, what it sounds like is you kind of got lucky, right? There was
Extremely.
Yeah, there was nothing up front that indicated that he was going to be any better than the folks online. I'm trying to get to what would you do locally that would be different.
What
He
check
said the
references?
right things.
You would check references.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you,
Check references.
Yeah.
And you talk to them, and you
Check out
use
their
Skype
performance.
for these people.
yeah.
Give him a case. Just give him a case.
Give him a case, give him something to solve. I guess I'm trying to point out that I don't think it's a lot different from the local world. Like, if you sit down with somebody, you think they're a good word, you put an ad on Craigslist, guy shows up, comes into this room, I sit here, you sit there, we're going to interview each other, and how do I know that you're going to be great? You're just going to give me this vibe? No, I'm going to look at samples of your work, I'm going to interview you, I'm going to get to the point where I'm really comfortable paying you. Why? Because you're really expensive. To actually try and see how you work out. And I don't think online is any different. I think you want to be really specific. You want to be really clear about what it is that you want. You want to be really clear about how you're going to hold them accountable. I think you want to be really clear about what the contract is. Like,
You know, that's really funny you say it that way, because on a bunch of projects, I've been awarding them to 2 people
yeah,
and immediately canceling on one of them who didn't deliver just because I knew they, I needed a PDF that was really important. It needed to have some Java put inside the PDF, and I said, here's the deal. And then
Yeah.
on my last 2 projects, I've awarded like 41 projects. My last 2 projects, I put the thing out for 90 days and awarded one at a time, and then just cancel them out one at a time. It just sucks to have to go through that. I was wondering what
yeah, it's
you would
painful.
do.
Yeah.
I mean, you use your own service, so I was
Yeah.
wondering how you guys do it.
Well, the difference, you know, somebody had asked me about competition, so why don't I just hit that now, and it might indicate some of the differences. So oDesk is about people. It's about hiring individuals. It's not about hiring a company or giving the work to a firm. I call that outsourcing, right? So if you want to outsource it, spec what you want really, really well, tie a bow on it and say, this is the spec. I want you to deliver me this exact thing, and when you deliver this exact thing, I'll release the money that's in escrow. It's fixed price, I'm not going to change the specs, this is what I want. And that works really well for things that are very sort of small in scope and are very specable, right? It's harder as things get bigger, so I think it works really well for a logo or a design. I need a simple logo or simple design. Go to 99 Designs. You post what you want, 100 designers work on it, you get them back, you vote which ones you like, and then ultimately you pick one, you pay $299, the designer gets half of it, their company keeps the other half. It's really fine, but it's just a design, right? Now that's not great for the designer, by the way, because now 100 designers work and only one gets paid,
Yeah.
right? And so it's not really a fair system. The folks in Mountain View, Elance, they have mostly fixed price work. So it's this, you define what you want, you post that project, people bid on it. I'll do that job for 1,000, I'll do it for 900, I'll do it for 500, I'll do it for 400, because they want that lead. And then they start working on it, but you very quickly know that's not what you wanted, right? So you cancel, they end up with 0.
Yeah,
right?
I have to, I don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice because they didn't deliver what you want, but it takes a tremendous amount of time, and it's really hard to spec that thing and not change your mind. Why? Because you change your mind. Your customer says, hey, we now want this geolocation feature. Oh, hey, I just want to add geolocation to this. All right, that's twice the cost. Twice the cost, it's just geolocation. That should be like 1/10 the cost. No, it's twice the cost. And by the way, we're almost done, so pay us for this, and then you want geo, we got to bill you another 1,000, right? And so it's hard, that's why we don't work that way. We get hired and fired based on our results. We get paid for our time, mostly. That's how we all work. Well, online work should be the same, right? You should get hired and fired based on the results, but you should get paid for your time. So what we did that was different from the very beginning is we said, we're gonna pay people based on their time. My hourly wage is $10, I work an hour, you pay me $10. That's the way it works. And so before the clock starts, interview me and make sure you like me. Check samples of my work. Ask me detailed questions. Give me a case to solve. Show me where you designed a great WordPress template to begin with. So I think you need to be really rigorous about interviewing and take the smallest unit of project and go out and test a couple and then pay for the time.
When hiring online, it seems like you can see the person's skills. We're looking at their previous work and stuff like that. You can check their motivation by seeing if they'll want to do a little free sample for you or whatever. Shows they really want to do it. But I guess what's the real indicator of checking their personality characteristics?
Well, I think you have to speak with them. You have to interview them via Skype, and you have to have a couple of questions that are important to you, right? So if you say integrity is really important to you, maybe you want to ask a question along the lines of, can you tell me if you've ever been in a situation where a customer asked you to lie, and what'd you do? Right? And if they say no, that's probably a lie, right? Because I think we've all been in a situation where we've been asked to stretch the truth, and what do we do about it? If smart is really important, why not ask a couple of questions? Back to my example of what would you do locally, right? What questions would you ask if you and I were sitting right here to figure out if I had high integrity?
It seems like it'd also be something that you really can't tell 100% until you work with them for a little bit of time. it's like, you know, an interview, that is one interview, someone could say whatever they want, but it's, once you've done 2 or 3 jobs with them, then you know the truth kind of bleeds through of what all those characteristics are.
Yeah, would you rather do that when the average number of days to hire is 4, as opposed to average number of days to hire is 90? Right, so permanent employees, average number of days to hire is 90 days. And my theory is flip a coin. You get half of them right. Anybody who's better than 50% is genius. You know, I mean, you don't always get it right. Like, have you ever had to fire somebody for personal characteristics? I have lots of people. And coming in, I thought they were fantastic, right? And so I'd rather do that with on-demand talent, because I think it's much more, it's on demand. Things aren't working out. I mean, I hate to be so crass, but you can drag and drop, right? You can say, hey, it's just not working out, and thanks for coming by. So I think on your, we're kind of touching on this. It's sort of level of interest on one axis and level of qualification on the other. And if you divide this into buckets, you have people who are not qualified, not qualified and not interested. Right, so it's not interested, and this is not qualified. So they're not qualified and not interested. They're interested, they're highly motivated, so they're applying to your job, they're taking the interview, but they don't have the skills. You can look at their reputation, their feedback, their test scores, their verifiable work history. On oDesk we have tests, so you can say, hey, before I hire you, go take the WordPress test. I want to see how you score. So go take it on your dime, and if you score above 80%, I'll give you a shot.
Yeah,
Right?
I hate
So-
something, like me and John were just talking, and we talk about projects all the time. I think I'm totally lost as to oDesk. I have an account at oDesk, but I thought it was so much similar to the other one, Elance, but I was like.
Yeah, so oDesk is twice as big as Elance, so we're doing more on a monthly basis than Elance and the next 10 competitors combined, and we're growing twice as fast. And the reason why is because we've best replicated the way that work happens in the offline world, based on time, right? You and I work together, and you work with an individual, not a company. Elance is mostly about companies. You hire a firm, so you hire company XYZ, and they give the work to somebody in the back room. They're paying $7 an hour, they're billing you 20, or they're charging you for the job, and they're giving it to this person, and they make money based on margin. They want the least qualified worker at the highest price, billed at the highest price, and you want the most qualified worker billed at the lowest price. What oDesk does is connect you directly with an individual, and that individual sets their own price. So there's no middleman, right? oDesk is the middle, we're the platform, but you can only hire individuals. You can't hire a firm on our site. And so it's very, very different. Outsourcing is when you hire a company to do the work. This is about hiring an individual to do the work.
How do you know that they're not cheating on the hours?
Setup. So what oDesk does is, let me finish this thought, and then I'll get to that. So, you know, it's incumbent upon us to help you figure out who's the most qualified and interested candidate, right? So who's qualified to do your job and who's interested in doing your job. And I think you figure out both by looking at their skills, their reputation, previous work history, their communication, their, you know, the star ratings that we have, comments from previous employers, and then you have to figure out how motivated they are by asking them questions, making them jump through some hoops, go take a test. So remember I said I had 70 photo editors. Well, the way I'm going to figure out if they're qualified and interested is give them 2 photos, be very specific about what it is that I want, and I'll be upfront with them. I said, listen, I'm giving it to a bunch of people. Whoever does the best job, I'll hire you. I'll put you on my photo editing team, and there'll be lots of work every week, right? So, and they all want to participate because they're really motivated to get jobs. And I'll figure out based on their work who's the most qualified. And I will probably pay, I'll probably pay most of the people that do the work a couple of bucks, because it's a couple of bucks, who cares? It's still worth it because I'll immediately know from one quick test who's good. If I paid everybody $10, it's still a good use of my time and my money. Now, a lot of people come in and they're not interested and they're qualified, so that's bad for us, right? So they're not interested because they show up and they say, oh, there's no good jobs here, I'm in the wrong place. It's like the first person that wanted to sell a Rolex on eBay and came in and said, this is all Beanie Babies and Pez dispensers. I can't sell a Rolex here, there's no buyers. Or if you went to buy one, right? You were one of the first buyers of an expensive item on eBay. You'd say, oh, it must be a fake, it can't be real. And so it's really a challenge for us to make sure that we're getting the right people to the right place, which is your problem. How do I find that right one?
I'm actually lucky because I remember about an eBay story where a guy was selling an Xbox like when it came out, and the guy who got it, he got an Xbox, but it was just the box. So I just
Yeah, and that's bad for us, right? Because our strategy is good clients bring good contractors bring good clients. And in a network business, you need one side to come organic, at least one side to come organically. If you have to market for both sides in a business, it's really tough, right? And so for us, I'm gonna draw another picture here, bear with me. So if you look at how we get customers, so how do you think we get customers? So if you were oDesk, how would you get customers?
Word of mouth, but they most of us.
Word of mouth? Referrals, yeah. So this is word of mouth. Ding, ding, ding. Top answer on the board. Word of mouth. Right? What's that show? Family Feud, where you buzz in. It's like top answer.
It's not to say organic traffic.
Okay, so organic. So let's say SEO, right?
Absolutely.
And paid search, SEM, right? So that looks like this. What else? How would you get customers if you were us?
Ads?
Ads, okay.
Press releases?
PR, great for us. So,
Acquisitions? Can you acquire competitors?
Oh yeah, so you can acquire users, or you can look for partnerships, right? So leveraged acquisition. So we have a deal with eBay where they're trying to bring PayPal and Magento and eBay developers. They're trying to help their ecosystem to use their products more, and their ecosystem needs development help. They're never going to go and hire system integrators, too expensive. So oDesk is powering that. So if you go to eBay, you say hire a PayPal developer, you're actually coming through to oDesk.
About job boards.
Job boards, right, so syndicate your job. So all of these ways we get traffic, but our number one way is word of mouth, right? And this is essentially free. So this shows that our strategy of, this virtuous cycle that's two arrows going around, clients and contractors. So first you have to give people a reason to tell a friend, right? You have to make sure that the reason they're going to tell a friend about your app is because it adds value. It's like, hey guys, if we're all on this thing, then we can plan our events more easily, right? Give them a reason to tell a friend, and then give them a way to tell a friend. So Dropbox, reason to tell a friend. Why? Because we want to share artifacts. Way to tell a friend, well, it's pretty easy. Just send an email with their email address, and the next thing you know, they're sharing the document. Inherently viral. OpenTable, really, really good job of what I call embedded accelerators. So you make a reservation on OpenTable for 4 people. What happens next? You get an email that says, hey, you just made a reservation for 4 people. You want us to send an email to the other 3 guests? We'll tell them where the restaurant is. We'll send them the wine list in advance. We'll schedule a calendar invite. You don't have to do any of that. Let us do it for you. Genius. You give 3 email addresses, they just got 3 more customers who know of OpenTable. But it's not, hey, give me your email list and I'll spam all your friends, right? Like, don't you hate that? Right? And so very, very nice embedded accelerator. How do you give somebody a reason to tell a friend about your product? So for us, knowing how important word of mouth is, we have to deliver a good result, or else friends aren't going to tell friends. If anything, they're going to tell friends how much oDesk sucks. So we use Net Promoter Scores. Everybody familiar with NPS? No? Okay. If you'd leave tonight with one thing, I can teach you one thing, it's Net Promoter Score. So somebody at Bain came up with a study that said you only have to ask your customers one question to figure out whether or not they're a fan or a promoter of your product. And that question is, how likely are you to refer this product, this service, to a friend or to a colleague, right? And I always throw in that you like, but that's not important. So how likely are you to refer this service? And on a scale of 1 to 10. Now, if it's a 9 or 10, it's considered a promoter, meaning they are highly likely to tell a friend about that service, okay? If it's a 1 through 6, they're a likely detractor, meaning not only are they not going to tell somebody about it, they're likely to tell somebody that it sucks, right? And if they're 7 or 8, they're neutral. They're likely not going to do anything. Not going to tell anybody it's good or bad. They'll probably just keep their mouth shut. So then what you do is you take your 9s and 10s, you subtract your 1 through 6s, and you divide by the total, and it gives you a percentage score, okay? Netflix, before they went through the whole pricing debacle, was like 70. Amazon's like high 70s.
70?
70. It's unbelievable, right? These scores. oDesk is high 40s for clients and a high 70s for contractors. So it's quite high. But there's room for improvement, especially when your strategy to acquire net new customers is not sales, it's word of mouth. And the reason why it's word of mouth is because the more customers that tell a friend, the cheaper it is to acquire a net new lead. So if you overlay cost to acquire right here, we're able to maintain our cost and invest in other channels like SEO, SEM, PR, mail campaigns, ads, anything else that we can use to pay for clients. Why? Because we're getting most of our traffic for free, right? And the reason we get it for free is because we deliver value after the match, right? We're delivering value in our service, and we're trying to give people a reason to tell a friend and then away.
What point did the word of mouth start to take on the number one? In the early days, it must have been some grassroots marketing or some mechanism to drive that word of mouth.
It was, yeah. We bought a lot of AdWords in the beginning, so a lot of paid search. But from the get-go, the business was kind of viral. Contractors, you can get all the contractors you want. Oh, by the way, this is only clients. This is only people that need work done. Contractors are all viral, right? So we only pay to acquire one side of the marketplace. Clients, jobs. With jobs, you can get lots of contractors. And then clients bring clients. Clients bring contractors. Contractors bring clients. And so you end up with this virality. But in the early days, we did a lot of hand-holding. We had much tighter controls, so we would like speak to every client, speak to every contractor, hand match them. In the early days of a marketplace business, I think touch and quality is that much more important. When we couldn't do that anymore because the business was scaling too fast, we had to build the product to do it. And I think we're still working on that. I think we have a lot of room to improve here.
What is oDesk's Net Promoter Score?
It's high 40s for clients, and it's high 70s for contractors. Okay, so question, before I get to you, let me get to this question about how do you know an hour worked is an hour billed is an hour worked? Okay, so oDesk is going to help you find the right worker, and then we're going to help you contract with that worker, right? So basically define what is it that you're going to do and what is it that I'm going to do, right? So I'm going to work for you by the hour on this WordPress theme, and you're going to pay me $10 an hour. That's the deal that we have. Let's go ahead and sign that contract, okay? Now I actually have to come to work for you. Well, how do you know that an hour billed is actually an hour worked? Well, in order for me to get paid as your contractor, I need to log into your team room, which we provision. And as soon as I log into that team room, I just punched the internet time clock. And I have to log into your virtual office, and now while I'm working for you, you get a screenshot of my desktop 6 times an hour at random intervals.
No kidding.
Right? So I can validate that I'm really working on your stuff. Okay? So you can manage me by walking around. So if I'm doing a design for you, I'm working on your UX. You can look at the design and say, no, I want blue, not red. I want this vertical. I want it narrow. I want the line on this side. And because you can course correct me in real time, it's like I'm sitting next to you and you're looking over my shoulder and saying, move the line, I want blue, not red. So what we said was, look, delivery of the work, we've got to make it as if we were in the same office. We've got to replicate the offline world online. Now, you say, well, that's cool, but couldn't I just emulate screenshots? Couldn't I just make my desktop change, and therefore you would have to pay me? I could just like have a time logger that would make it look like I was working, right? Well, we said, yeah, well, we have to guard against that. So let's add keyboard strokes and mouse events. If you're not typing or moving your mouse, the system's going to shut down, okay? So in other words, like you can't punch the time clock and leave the office. You have to stay in the office. Not only do you have to stay in the office, you actually have to be working. Well, I can emulate keyboard strokes and mouse events, so what if, well, how are you going to guard against that? Well, we had what's called the work memo, where now I have to tell you what I'm working on. At some frequency per hour, I have to say I'm working on the design, I'm working on the database, working on the back end, I'm working on this. Well, now you know not only that an hour billed is an hour worked, but you know what you're paying for in that hour, right? You can run reports that show all of those work memos, so you know how long did the database take, how long for the front end, how long for this design, how long for this project, right? And then you say, yeah, but what about bait and switch? So you hired me to do the work for you, and I hire a monkey to sit at the computer and just go like this, right? Well, we added a camera. So all of these are optional, but the sum of everything, the system can't be gamed, right? So you know that an hour billed is an hour work. But just like the offline world, you don't know that it's good quality or that I'm fast, but you do know that it was an hour work. Now, it's incumbent upon you to manage me. It's incumbent upon you to hire me and hire the right guy in the first place, and then manage me, but we're going to give you the tools to do that online. And then from that, we handle all payment and statutory. So, you know, at the end of the week, you'll get an invoice for the sum of the hours worked, and you'll audit them and say, yeah, that looks good, or no, that doesn't look good. YouTube, baseball game, you know, whatever, delete, delete, delete. And you only pay for the actual time worked. And then we guarantee the work to you, meaning we guarantee that an hour billed is an hour worked. Can't guarantee the quality or the speed, just like the offline world. And then we guarantee payment to the contractor. And we handle the 1099, the W-2, the international taxes, so you don't have to worry about it, right? So it's hire, manage, and pay individuals all the other way.
You know, again, I hate to be so ignorant. I didn't know oDesk offered any of that. Wow.
Gary, one of the things that I have to say that I really like about oDesk is not only can you do it by the hour, you can do it by the project.
Yeah.
And I've had contractors in my home